2023. First item, call meeting to order. Second, roll call. Jim Morrison.
Here.
Dan Ormsby is not here. Edward Rankin here. Item 3, Jacob Grand Mason, applicant for Appeals Board. Do you have any information here?
Luke isn't in here. Mr. Grand Mason's wife is also on the appeals board, but our clerk has checked and there's no conflict, there's no prohibition for spouses not to serve on the board. There are some prohibitions, but that's not one of them. And this appointment will complete 5 members on the appeals board.
How do you want to proceed?
I read his application over. I'm pretty sure he's qualified for the job.
Need a motion?
Motion to accept.
Second? All in favor? Item 4, Habitat for Humanity, Safety and Accessibility Repair Program.
We have Sherry Billings here tonight from Habitat for Humanity to outline the program that has taken a long time to get to, which is a partnership between Habitat for Humanity, Bucksport Bay Healthy Community Coalition, and the town to do safety and accessibility repairs for our senior citizens, which is something we've been looking to get in place. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Sherry Billings. I am from Hancock County Habitat for Humanity, and we have been talking with both the town and with the Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition about how we can work together to try to help some of our elderly town citizens who live below 80% of adjusted median income. So we can't help everybody, but we can help people who are in the lower income levels. And even 80% of median income isn't actually that low. So what we want to do is work together with the Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition and have them do the initial identification of folks that might need help in their homes, who live in Bucksport, who are 60 or older, who have safety and accessibility needs. And we have to stick to safety and accessibility right now because we know that repair needs around the county are huge. We have very old housing stock, and we also have an aging populace, and those things together result in a lot of needs to repair homes. And we can't take it all on at this point. So what we wanted to do is focus on this pilot project with the town of Bucksport, where we will work to do the safety and accessibility modifications to people's homes. So that might be, it could be as large as putting in ramps if somebody needs ramps, but it could be repairing stairs, repairing rotting deck boarding, repairing rotting flooring, putting in grab bars in bathrooms, raising the height of toilet seats, things like that will help our aging folks be able to stay at home longer. Because what we know is that people do better health-wise when they're in a familiar environment. So that's our hope for what we can do. So the plan that we have and how we're going to enact this is, and on the Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition website, there'll be kind of an initial 5-question, do you fit this criteria? And if people do fit that criteria, they would get sent over to me at Habitat to fill out an application. And we've worked it down to it's just a 1-page application that people can do. From that, if they meet the criteria, we'll schedule a home visit. So that home visit will happen with our construction person, and we are very grateful that we found somebody who actually has expertise in this type of construction, in handicapped accessible construction, who is also a resident of Bucksport that wants to help us on this project, and also happens to know people who want to volunteer on the project, because we'll be doing a lot of this work with volunteers, but we need skilled supervision of the volunteers, and we're really glad we had somebody come forward that's able to fit that bill. So that person will go The construction person will go into the home with the representative from the Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition. We'll take a look at what sorts of you know, modifications need to happen construction-wise in the home, and whether those fall into the scope of the work that we can do. And then Vanessa and the folks from Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition will take the opportunity to sign that elderly person up for Thrive if they're not already signed up for that, and see what other non-construction needs that person might have and how we can link them to the resources in the community that might meet those needs. So then we'll schedule our repair to happen, we'll go in and do the repair, and then we're gonna come back in a few months and check on people, see how they're doing. Both how they're doing with their repair, do they need any sort of instruction about how to use any adaptive equipment, but how are they doing just with everything else that goes along with being an elderly person who doesn't have means, who might be home and not see a lot of folks. So we're going to collaboratively do those reach outs at 3 or 6 months as well. So that's what we're hoping to do, and where you all come into this is, here's what Habitat for Humanity has. We have the money to pay this construction person. We have some skilled volunteers as well. We have a boatload of insurance. I can tell you, I pay these insurance bills. I have a lot of insurance that covers both us and any volunteers that are working under our umbrella. So we have the ability to do the labor portions of this really well. What we need help with is the materials portion, and that's where we were hoping that we could rely on the town to provide some money for that. So we have talked a little bit about maybe creating a $500 cap on these kinds of repairs per job, and we think that that could work. Obviously, you cannot build a ramp for $500, so if there are great needs like that, we'll figure them out between the resources that we have at Habitat for Humanity, the resources we have in the community, and the fact that I know and believe that this is a community that wants to help people, and we don't want to see people suffer. I'm sure that we can find the resources that we need if there are needs that are greater than what we're anticipating we can pay for with a proposed grant.
When we were talking, since this is a pilot program, it's been done in some other areas of the state, but not in Hancock County. And so it was the idea that if, but this is something that the town has been talking about for a long time in terms of trying to find a way to provide some of this assistance, that even if the council approved $10,000 from ARPA, which would be an absolutely legitimate use, with a $500 cap per application, that gives you 20 in a year, and that's a significant amount to start a program and see how it works or doesn't work, or what kind of modifications would need to be made. I know when we did the accessibility grant program for businesses at $500 each, that for projects that were more than 500, that 500 gave people enough of a base to be able to do some things that they would not have otherwise done. Habitat has really good resources with vendors in terms of discounted pricing for materials, and so that is another. And then finally, I think that if the town started a program, or was partnering in a program like this, and that there would be people who would want to donate to the fact that if somebody needed more than what, that there would be some additional assets not provided by the town that could come from donations to also support the program. I mean, this has the legitimacy of Habitat for Humanity behind it, which is an established program with established insurances and supervision and trainings and all the things that we really want to make sure. The kind of questions we were asking ourselves when we were talking about doing this ourselves, which is not in our wheelhouse. How would we, set it up? Yes, Peter.
I may have missed it. A lot of seniors are proud people. What's your mechanism or way to reach out to some of these folks that,
Well, my hope is that if
I mean,
we,
if we're looking for them to fill out a form online, that's probably not
they
the
don't have
best.
to fill out a form online. Somebody can do that with them over the phone.
Yeah.
Somebody can go to them and fill the form out. But my thought is, I have kind of a, if we build it, they will come. You know, if folks know that they can get this help, I think, and get the help, frankly, everything that I do really is confidential. So if they can get that help confidentially, without it being, you know, broadcast to everybody, they may be more likely to sign up.
Letting our ambulance service know about that, if that gets up and running, is gonna be a huge thing, because we've dragged plenty of stretchers over broken stairs and that haven't had ramps
Oh, yeah,
and
I'm
things
sure.
like that, so that'd be a
Mm-hmm.
huge help
It's a
to that.
resource.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we gotta get the word out.
How do you propose to get the word out?
Well, there's all the social media that we have, and then there's, I'd like to think that we could do, if we agree to do this, if it goes to the council and it gets approved, we can do a news story about it. We can let it be known in the town office that it's available. We can do postering. There are all sorts of things we can do. And I think one of the best ways in a small town for information like this to get out is word of mouth.
And Sue, do you envision this leading into, if it goes well, into grant funding, to try to pursue some grant funding to continue it?
Yeah, as I said, the walk before you run, kind of thing, and there's 3 entities involved here, the town, Habitat, and Bucksport Bay, because the other thing is that the Thrive program is active again, has 17 people currently enrolled, but is providing resource connections for people that otherwise would have a much more difficult time accessing those things. And so if this allows people to get more than a ramp, then it's a win-win. We've really, partnering would go a long way.
Is there a certain number you're looking at right from the, like a baseline that you're looking for help from the town?
Well, I do think at $500, $500 per job, 10 or 15,000, if we can get that amount of money, or if, as Sue was saying, if we can do 20 jobs in our first year, that'd be fabulous. And I'm not standing here with a calculator, so.
So roughly.
I deliver meals for the senior center. And,
Excellent.
during the wintertime, last winter, I was delivering 2 meals to a elderly couple. And I walked up and they had a ramp that ran the whole length of the side of their house and around to their door that they used, that I normally would bring their meal to. And they stopped me before I got partway up the ramp, and they said, "This ramp is slippery, you gotta be careful out there." And the wind blew our door off, and it's just been hung up there temporary. My son's gonna come fix it, use this other door. I went to the other door, and she attempted to open the door, and she said, "Kick it." And I said, "What?" She said, "Kick the door." I said, "Okay." Well, this is a person who was dependent on her son to come and do the repairs on it.
Mhm.
He didn't get there. And this is she's walking with a walker, and her husband was sitting in an easy chair, not able to get up and open the door for her. I had to kick my way into the house. Now, this is the kind of people that you're gonna be trying to reach out to.
Exactly. This is exactly the kind of situation. So it sounds like folks who deliver meals would be good people to know about this, and anyone at the senior center.
And as well as, the Thrive program, that's gonna link the exact people we're trying to help.
All right, we gotta cut this short.
Yeah, we're at 7.
Yep. Want to put a motion, Jim, to send it to council?
Everything on what they had written looked pretty good.
Yep.
The only thing I really have a question about is, talk to us about if they use up their $500, they have one more additional chance before the year is over to have another
I'm not gonna say that anybody only has one chance to get a repair done. If they have another legitimate repair and it falls within the scope of the work and they're not pushing anybody else out who hasn't had anything, I'm not gonna say, nope, you can only have the one time.
Okay.
We'll probably have a lot more questions for you once it goes to the council.
Sure thing.
You want
Sure
a
thing.
motion, Jim?
Motion to accept this.
Second, all in favor? Last item,
Thank
adjournment.
you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Give that to Peter.